Perhaps the gravity of this one is beginning to wrap itself around this lineup. As ace-queen suited pays a visit to Barbero. Air feels a little thicker than it did at the onset. Jack 10 suited played as a flat here by Abdullah.
This one much less attractive in the big blind for Santerne. Earlier position flat from Abdullah. 9-8 offsuit. Going to be dominated quite often. Wise to escape.
Well, I'm not so sure escape will be readily available to 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐻 given that he has flopped middle pair, unfortunately against top pair. Top kicker on a textured board with 800,000 in the middle. Awaits the orders from Barbero.
Quite a strong hand on this flop. Barbero maybe trying to go for check raise. Thought he might be encouraged to just take the lead when there's so many bad turn cards, but there's none better than this one. Seems like a free pass to go for value, almost whatever size you like.
And that size, half pot.
Jack 10 suited, quite strong here, especially having checked back the flop. No way to get away just yet.
400K, not a modest quotient of the remaining 2.2 for 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐻.
This could be dangerous for Abdullah. Every draw misses. You maybe anticipate Nacho would continue bluffing with ace-king or ace-jack. Not to mention king-jack suited, 9-8 suited. See how Nacho wants to size here. Very common when value betting or just in general in these spots to leave your opponent some chips behind, but he goes for all of it. He knows his hand is good enough to, he snapped.
Wow. Things playing out violently here as the deeply unanticipated departure of Abdullah 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐻, who was a non-believer on a dry river, given perhaps the flop check from Nacho, decided second pair was the one that he wanted to bluff catch the Argentine with, and in the process finds himself out in ninth, $102,000 richer for his efforts, but obviously he was deep enough to battle on and perhaps secure a few ladders instead. The remains of his stack gifted over to Nacho. Is it a call you can get behind at all, Kevin, on the end?
I mean, I gotta say, give credit to someone who's willing to see a spot where they think they're being pushed before I found ultimate, but...
You know, console gaming even?
Very little. Couple of, what was like before there were...
Don't say Pong.
No, not that far back.
Super Mario?
Final Fantasy series.
Okay, I could see
you know, the adventure kind of role-playing game. That's the category I was searching for. A few of those.
You ever do any cosplay?
That's...
It's a personal question, maybe?
I have not.
Don't get defensive. I didn't say furry. I just said cos publicly. There you go. Attaboy, Kev. Wisbrod, king-jack offsuit.
5 seconds.
325,000.
Santerne gonna think about his options between all-in and call. One has to imagine you've got 5 big blinds back, ace-8 high. Barak, the player 7th in chips, has opened into your big blind from the hijack. Stands to be a little bit looser than he would open against other players because it's so valuable for Wisbrod to take chips from Santerne. Reason you might want to be all in here is just to make sure that Wisbrod can't get away from the worst hand if we feel as though we can't fold our ace high on many boards, but Santerne takes the cautious route. See if he can escape on some bad flops.
That's the same man that got away from ace-king in a spot where had he called, he'd no longer be sat here playing this pot. Now he's found himself middle pair. The improvements to what was already the best hand against Barak, who bookends the queen of spades without a spade in hand. Action on Santerne.
And he's got to think about leading. Texture on which perhaps he doesn't want ace-jack, ace-king, ace-10 to be able to take a free card, doesn't want jack-10 suited to be able to take a free card. So rare that Wisbrod's going to bet the flop and fold to a check raise. It's only 4 big blinds, so he leads instead. I like this find from Santerne. You know your hand is good enough to be all in.
Is king high good enough to be considering this?
Almost anything is. There's a lot out there already. We can see against this hand he's got just 25% equity, but sometimes Santerne's going to have 10-9. Sometimes he's going to have 5-6, a flush draw.
Yeah, he's not interfering with the spades or any of those straight draws other than jack-10, jack-9, which perhaps he reduces the frequency of the lead jam in association with.
I wonder if Wisbrod gives any extra consideration to that time bank that Santerne used pre-flop. Really thinking about that first decision is going to lean him either towards the fringy folds or the fringy all-ins. Would a hand like 10-9 be in either category? 10-9 just seems like a straightforward call in the big blind. No time bank needed. 5-6 offsuit maybe. Time bank needed before deciding to call. Wants to range him as accurate as he can. $625 into 1.5 million. Getting 2.5 to 1.
Well, he is really chewing on this one here.
I think with a spade in his hand, he would have called already.
You think without one, he should be considering the fold more?
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to say looking at the hands, but that little bit of extra info pre, plus the fact that we have this low equity against an 8 or a 7, which is the majority of what Santerne will have. Stronger hands probably just check to induce action. We're so unlikely to be up against a queen. Barak knows this. That's part of it. A queen would check it over more often than an 8 or a 7. So both those overcards usually best. Usually good, I should say.
You don't want to burn too many time banks here. Granted, he has plenty, it would seem, given that that blue circular disc represents 5 additional. There's the last of the squares. And listen, just given the operators he's surrounded by, Wisbrod could very well need plenty more time banks on the march toward a potential title.
It is so hard to manage how important an individual spot is compared to future potential spots. I'm sure right now this feels like the most important thing to Barak. Just getting this one right. Huge moment on a big final table.
Well, eventually, Barak does arrive at call. And I think the longer it took, the more comfortable Thomas was that he had far and away the best of it. Probably realized that many time banks back. So, the Frenchman's at risk here. with 2.1 million and change in the middle. Jack on the turn. Disaster for Thomas as Barak puts his back up against the wall. 5 outs for Thomas to return to his seat and remike. Can he do it? No. Au revoir, monsieur.
7 diamonds.
I could have.
8th place finish.
Good, bro. We don't want to have you with a lot of diamonds. You're too good, bro.
That was a heavy one.
Right? We prefer him with less.
Knows where to go to pick up his $128,000, Kevin, but that one felt unjust.
Maybe made even tougher by the extended amount of time. But Santerne did come in quite short. Wasn't last at the start of the final table. Expected result, but delivered in a excruciating fashion.
Yeah, certainly not the expected result once King Jack showed itself again. As they certainly are part of the Church of GTO as an aggregate group. What we've observed is not only par for the course, dare I say, Kevin, but an illustration of just a masterclass of sorts at an FT thus far. Barbero, master stack, and a master holding here. Ace-King, making it 450 to go. Ace-10 suited for Barak.
Yeah, this one is most likely going in. I mean, we've got a suited ace, let alone any suited Broadway would feel compelling with a 15 big blind stack against an open from the effective chip leader.
All in.
Barak's in there, and he's going to get snapped.
Schwecht with the easy release, and Barbero's snap is never something that we're excited about. And the excitement wanes even further when we're shown Ace-King.
Maybe that's how it works. Probably not, but.
Well, Wisbrod got lucky on the turn to dispatch Santerne. Now here he is unlucky heading to the flop with 29% equity and 1 jack on board. Both parties connecting with the ace. Advantage Barbero in a major way. 4-1 favorite. And then some with 2 to come. Hang on. I don't need to explain what the turn has done, as you can visually see the representation of its impact on Barak's side of your screen. So many outs for the Israeli to fight on. Can he find one?
Good luck, guys.
No. Case
I
ace.
said that he was coming.
Trips for both.
What? Yeah. You
Wisbrod.
can join the club from some other people. Mike Watson is up there too. He can never win a hand against me. He's insane.
Thank you again.
Shakes his head, suggesting that that's not the first.
He's the one
And
that
according to
ran the worst
Nacho,
against me, by the way.
not the last time that his chips are going to be flowing away from him when he entangles with the Argentine. Sometimes you just have a nemesis, someone that holds over you. And on this occasion, Barbero polishes off the entirety of Barak's stack, as he won't be polishing any trophies. Says goodbye in 7th place, collecting $175,000, leaving behind a 60K ladder for the field. All parties now guaranteed $235,000 and almost 70K jump
Oh, perfect.
between 6th and 5th.
You say so?
Pocket 6s now for Nacho. He really has held the deck more than all others here at the table. Not to get overly excited about the 6s, but facts remain.
Nacho taking a second to look at the stacks around. He's just open jammed. Pair of 6s. Oh boy.
Ace-King suited for Tobias.
This play designed to clear out a number of marginal holdings. There's very few hands that you can call off of 20 big blinds against this play.
I mean, but
Ace-King
Ace-King of clubs, Kevin. This is
one of those hands.
durable enough. Tobias doesn't love the situation that he's been forced into here. Given the presence of multiple shorter stacks than his own, in the field, looking at Linus, looking at Kristen, looking at the pay ladders, but also looking at a wonderful spot to potentially double up, though he is behind. The coin is weighted in the Argentine's favor as 𝐿𝐻𝐵 tries to collect another pelt, fresh off the heels of dispatching 𝐕sprod. And sixes sit pretty on a 5-high rainbow board. No club.
Dale, una vez.
Easy ways to wipe a smile off of 𝐿𝐻𝐵's face. 2 to come. Be careful. Sometimes the poker gods can humble us. The turn is not done so, however. Is the sun going to shine further down on Barbero? The answer is yes. And all of a sudden, gridlock is broken in short order as Barbero delivers a 1-2 punch and brings us to 5-handed play.
Huge swing there. Chip lead pot for Schwecht if he had won it. Instead, he's out the door. 𝐿𝐻𝐵's going to have half the chips in play.
Well, that man's going to have 0 chips. But $235,000.
Get the answers in a few days.
He'll live with it. But falling to the hands of the Argentine is Schwecht. That was just a hand of poker that played itself. Add the 235 to his 1.3 million in career Triton earnings.
Probably should, but perhaps not. 8 bigs. It's tempting.
For me, it's just looking over at Barbero and knowing this guy, you know, he just has carte blanche right now.
Still don't want to take a flip in this spot when you're always running it at risk. 50% chance of busting is so high.
Yeah, some have more of an appetite for the variance than others. As Foxen shows her appetite for a suited king. Chidwick, however, is looking to dine. And he's been served a better dish.
Yeah, Chidwick's not going anywhere. A little bit light, perhaps, even from Foxen here. Feels a little hasty. Know how easy it is when we get down under 10 bigs to feel the pressure to make a move as quickly as possible.
No time bank required of Chidwick as he flats, and what a time to bring forward the first mystery hand of the final table. We're going to black out Nacho Barbero's holding, and as such, Kevin, I think we can safely assume that he's not simply going to fold.
My first thought is, are we seeing an overcall? No, he's just moved all in, and he's done it quick. He knows Stevie can have absolute top of range right now.
Okay, now...
And here's what's weird, is Chrissy has not put in her entire stack.
And part of the reason that she hasn't is precisely in the event of things such as this, correct?
Yeah, but can Chrissy really... If Chrissy folds, there's no obligation for Chidwick to put the remainder in. So by folding, do you just leave yourself with a small blind and no ladder?
I mean, Chidwick can fold a wide variety of hands with that ladder on deck and fight on with 2.4.
Absolutely. I think if Chrissy were to fold here, nobody all in yet except Nacho, who covers the field. If Chrissy were to fold, Chidwick can just pass, and she's still stuck in 5th. And Nacho put this together so quick, I don't think Chidwick has any misconception about this being a light hand. This is a premium from Nacho. We leave these chips behind for situations where someone's already been forced in. If Chidwick had rejammed without leaving chips back and Nacho had called, very different situation. Would have been a very reasonable pass at that point, but wow.
She does let it go, and now let's see. Chidwick just looking over at that small blind in front of Chrissy. He knows ace-queen is a lot of hand. He also, as you pointed out, Kevin, knows that Nacho's premium.
Really loving life.
See that?
What a life.
Kristen, of course, was hoping Stevie had a mandatory calling hand here, hoping for a cooler between the two, but Chidwick really was in the middle of his range. Honestly, a hand he's perhaps now regretting not having jammed himself to isolate Nacho. I mean, how disastrous would it be if Nacho had ace-queen right now and Chidwick's about to fold a chop?
Is ace-queen in range for Barbero?
I think it is, yeah.
But obviously we're blocking it. Well, talk to me, chat. What do you think Barbero has tucked away behind those two question marks? And for that matter, Kevin, you want to take a swing at it?
I mean, maybe it's the desire to see blood, but it just feels like ace-queen is the hand.
Multiple time banks being put to work by Chidwick and warranted, given the gravity of this choice. A lot of speculations about pocket jacks, tens, queens even in chat.
Nacho can't believe it.
Well, he said he's loving life.
Bottom of Stevie's range, calling in the first place, probably ace-jack offsuit. So attractive to just pass on this spot in the first place and allow Nacho to call a wide range in the big blind to eliminate Kristen.
What's the bottom of Barbero's range, you think?
I think factoring in additionally the speed at which he went all in, tens is a stretch and jacks is clear. And then on the unpaired side, it's ace-queen and ace-king. It's just so hard to imagine Nacho quickly deciding that pocket eights are good enough to isolate against a Stevie flat on the button.
This is a rare visual, by the way. Chidwick in the blender.
It's a complicated spot where certainly Stevie has spent time thinking about remaining actions when you leave chips behind, but perhaps hasn't navigated much down the path where a separate player has left a small amount of chips behind and then folded into you. This is such a rare sequence. Stevie's not only thinking about this hand, but also the future value of folding and knowing that Kristen's going to be forced all in within two hands. Such a big pot to consider here. Of course, Nacho covering. The pot looks larger than it is for Stevie. 1.5 million, three ways, plus the blinds. 5 million already out there effective, 2.4 behind.
That 2.4 is good for 12 bigs to fight on with if he lays it down.
He's getting about 2 to 1. He knows his raw equity is better than 33%, but how much better? Risk premiums are massive right now. I think if he can get away, it would be a good find.
Wow.
He does lay it down.
Nachito playing the game.
Sorry, bluff, man.
Oh,
This
Barbero.
This is
It's
the
the
worst
same
hand I showed.
What do you have? What do you have?
What kind you saw?
Yeah.
Oh, so lucky you are.
As you suspected.
Oh, he knows it.
Might be an
What? You do us.
absolutely horrible fold. I'm sorry. I feel like I started that.
You had a pair?
Me? No.
Obviously, you had 3 outs.
Foxen knows no
I also had
apologies.
one of the worst hands I've shown.
Money, you and your husband, stop, right? Leave something for us. We're the poor South American.
Oh,
If I leave, how much I have to leave?
Fold.
So Nacho's going to start with a limp. There's no ante this hand because Kristen didn't have enough to cover beyond the big blind. No need for Nacho to raise.
I always think if I do it with aces.
And the idea here is kind of, how do I want to frame this?
Sidepot?
They're both agreeing to check it down, kind of trying to eliminate 𝐼𝐶𝐬 without verbally announcing that they're agreeing
I
to
mean,
check it down.
not at all guaranteed. I think that Nacho in particular, as the chip leader, has incentive to let Kristen survive almost.
Okay.
Because think of the hammerlock he has on this table if 𝐼𝐶𝐬's able to triple here for just 375, relatively non-threatening to the overall tournament dynamics. Obviously, we can see Kristen isn't going to have the winner here, so it's a foregone conclusion. But
One pair. What?
8 high.
Sorry, I didn't even mean to not show.
No good for 𝐼𝐶𝐬. You can see she was being
You have ace-10?
hard on herself, aware and recognizing that potential blunder was made. But I think, if anything, humanizing
See
her.
how much I want to
You
get.
know, we all hold ourselves to such high standards in this industry. As a professional poker player, you want to make the right move at all times. But, you know, a byproduct of this game, this unsolved game, Kevin, is we all make mistakes, and 𝐼𝐶𝐬 will walk away from this one with, you know, something to look back on, something to study, and Triton million, 14th place, when there was 12 million up top. And then main event, 11th place, when there was 4 million up top. You know, you just like win one more flip and you know, you just finish top 5. And
yep.
instead of cashing for 1.1 million, you just cash for 6. It's, yeah.
You play this game where you just get to play 10x the stakes like twice a year.
Yeah.
Hope to run good when you're in that spot. And if you don't, sorry, try again next time.
Yeah, try again in 5 years' time when there's another $500,000 invitation on.
Oh boy. Chidwick opens half his stack from the cutoff, queen-jack offsuit. Started the hand with 8 blinds.
What's the idea here for Adrian? Because you mentioned earlier, like, does not want to get all of his chips in before Chidwick. If he was to jam, and then, you know, Nacho wakes up with a monster.
Yeah, Chidwick gets away. So again, remember, Mateos could isolate. If he thinks the 4 big blind open is too cheap and there might be overcalls behind, he wants to isolate, just make it 7 blinds or 8 blinds, right? Leave yourself an out. Oh, he's just gone all in. Small risk of Nacho waking up. He avoids it. Chidwick has no choice now.
Good luck, gentlemen. 2 of the game's greats, by the way, on your screens. Chidwick number 4 on the all-time money list. Mateos number 8 on the all-time money list. Both players top of their respective countries' all-time money list. 5.3 in the middle. Chidwick looking for running diamonds, running straight cards, or a jack, as the diamonds do appear on the turn. Picks up a lot of outs. Can he find it? Yes, he can. Jack of spades, corner pocket. Stephen Chidwick. Up to 5.3 million, moves up to second in chips.
Wow. When you have to explain your jokes, it's like, it's a really bad one. Right?
Yeah, I have to admit. Explaining a joke, Kevin, is kind of like dissecting a frog. You know?
Go on.
Yes, you better understand the anatomy of the frog,
2.6.
but it's still dead. You know? Same thing with explaining a joke.
Can you explain that analogy for me?
I see how it is. I see how it's going to be today.
These two are going to run it.
Good luck, chaps. practically the same stacks. 𝐿𝐵 has him slightly covered by just a fraction of a big blind. Linus with the 2 overs. Mateus with the pair.
You cover, right? Because of the ante.
For the ante, maybe, yeah. So root for me now, please.
2.675.
Mateus asking Nacho to root for him.
Yeah.
It would mean an $84,000 ladder. It's pretty insane to think that there's 650K difference between 4th and 1st. So much money left to play for. So it comes 755. So far, so good. El Conquistador.
Ooh, fourth side. Of heart. 50-50.
Ace or 9 needed. One of the true legends of the game, Linus Love, does not get there.
Importante este flip. Let's go.
Does not get his 5th podium place finish at the Triton Series. We're just going to get official confirmation because it was just ever so close. But I do believe it is official. Mateus had him covered by a 1/3 of a big blind. So with that, Linus is going to head to the payout desk, collect $379,000 for his efforts. He's out in 4th. We're down to 3. Nacho Barbero on the hunt for his 3rd title. Goes by the name of Linus Love online. Started blogging about his poker journey in the 2-cent, 5-cent streets. The age of 17, 18, and what a journey it's been all the way to the top of the game. Who knows, we might see Nacho in the invitee side of the bracket if...
Is that where Nacho's heading after this?
I mean, if he starts squeezing cards in the back room, we might see him on the invitee side. Ace 10 against Queen 7 suited. I mean, Stevie's got, what, 5.5 bigs. How do we feel about this one, Kev?
Does feel good enough to go in. So much goes out there when you post the big blind and the big blind ante.
Does have to consider the fact that Mateus is going to be in the big blind next hand.
Stevie's also in the worst position in the sense that he always gets jammed on blind versus blind, but he never gets his blind versus blind jam opportunities. He's got to take the spot a little earlier than Adrian does.
Perhaps for that reason.
I was scared you'd have a bad hand.
What?
I was scared you would have a bad hand.
Oh, no.
Ace 10 I can beat.
Stevie's confident. He's got it in behind. Apparently that's what's needed to beat Barbero. That's going to be impossible on that board. Stephen Chidwick is drawing dead.
GG, bro.
GG.
Bueno, al fin, bebé.
Vamos ahí, buen trabajo, me has hecho el trabajo sucio.
What a battle.
Eliminado toda la mesa.
From 5-handed to 3-handed to now heads up. Stevie did everything he could. I mean, he had one of the weirdest spots that we've ever seen.
Go to P1.
5 left.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
That kind of chopped away at one of his legs.
Para ir a jugar Omni, no?
Managed to get 3-handed, took some spots. Navigated the murky waters really well, as one would expect from Europe's most winningest player, one of the most decorated players on tour, Stephen Chidwick, out in 3rd. We'll head to collect $463,000 for his efforts here. Not going to take much for stacks to work their way in the middle here, Kevin.
No.
This stack depth. I know you know your way around these heads-up streets, so I'm hoping.
Oh boy.
Well, I was about to say I'm hoping.
I know these
we
two
get a
hands
bit
are
of a
getting all in.
battle.
All in.
Oh no.
Well, you talked about that early double.
And you talked about what it can do to one's mindset when it's been plain sailing up to heads up. That psychological warfare that we talk about, having to overcome adversity. Mateos can hold here. He's going to pose a real threat. Barbero has lost 5 heads-up matches before for a Triton title, but has somehow found the queen high board. Now 90% favorite to make it title number 3, as Mateos is left drawing to 2 outs once. Can Adri find it? No, he can't.
Buen amigo. Joder, buen torneo. Enhorabuena.
Handshake between the two,
Finally.
as always.
6 hits-ups in a row.
See the appreciation for one another's game. Mateos out in second for $694,000. Denied his 3rd title by that man. He found the Lady Gaga. Nacho Barbero is your champion in the 30K. Event number 3 here in Montenegro.